Happy New Year, and welcome back to the Reflective Practice Radio. There's something about the start of a new year that makes everyone want a clean slate, fresh starts, big goals, bold declarations. But we wanted to start this year a little bit differently. Instead of asking, what are we going to do this year? What if we asked, what are we bringing with us? What quietly changed? And what might we finally be ready to let go of? So, this isn't a resolutions episode, it's a reflection episode. Hint, hint. A chance to pause, take stock, and notice what actually shifted, not just what looked good on paper. I'm Matthew Wright, and we have.
I am Claudio La. So
Welcome.
glad to be back.
How's it going,
Thanks. Yeah.
man?
Going well. I mean, and with that intro, it's funny. It's almost like you are reading my mind, where I've been thinking about this, where, a lot of folks are mostly like future oriented, looking ahead and this and that. But it's like, before you know where you're going, you have to know where you've been
Yes,
so that you understand your trajectory,
that's right.
right? And you can make course correction in the present. So I love starting with that, just looking back first and what is it that what is the ground that we've been paving over the last, few weeks, months, quarters, year?
Yes.
Where did it put us and where does it look like we're going? So I like that.
Sweet. That means
Very
we're on the
cool.
same page.
We
Finally.
are. We absolutely are. So I know that I've been posting about how I've been over the last maybe 2 weeks or so,
Yes.
like pondering and working on my annual review. Is that
Yes.
something that you do?
I don't do an annual review. I actually talked to Daniel, and he does more of a weekly thing, and he's been doing this for quite some time.
Hmm.
Um, So, of course, I have my daily journaling practice, but I don't have a review. So, I would like to hear more about your practice and see if I can take from this to build out something of my own.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's interesting that sometimes you get like folks who do like maybe weekly review, monthly review, quarterly review, but don't do a yearly review. Or you may get folks who do the other way around, only do like annual reviews, but don't do like shorter review feedback cycles. So with my annual review, the first one I published was in 2015, right? So I'm just right now wrapping up my 11th one. And the main thing that I made a point of is at least once a year, I do need to sit down and spend as long as I need to review that year,
Yes.
right? At least that. And that I started, over 10 years ago now, because looking back a little bit further back, when I looked back in my life, it looked like a blur. There's like blobs of years. It's like I don't remember anything about like these 2, 3, 4, year range. It's like that hit me hard
Oh,
when I
yeah.
had that realization years ago. It's like just so about 10 years ago, I started doing this like at least once a year. I need to sit down to reflect and say, oh, that thing that I'm thinking, was it last year? Oh, no, actually, that was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't want to have that anymore. That level of confusion. So I started doing that. So for the last 10 years, it's like that's just something I do every single year. It happens. Did I lose you? I think I lost your. Is it just a camera?
I am still here. My camera went out for
Oh,
a second. I don't know
oh,
why,
there you go.
but hopefully I'm
Yeah,
back.
it's coming back. Or no, now it went
But
back to your initials. Interesting.
all right,
There
here
we
we
go.
are.
Good,
I
good, good.
apologize. I
Wasn't
didn't mean to distract you.
It's not a problem at all. So this has been the constant. Like every year, do it. Make sure it happens. How? That's not as important. Just make sure it happens. As long as it's happening, then what I've been uh, refining over the years is the how I do it and what do I use for my reflections and what is the output of that? The outcome, I'm clear. It's the clarity of mind. It's the taking ownership of what have I been busy with,
Yes.
right? Because people are always saying, oh, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. But it's like, is
Doing
it
what?
busy by choice, right? Or is it just because, you keep like getting involved with stuff or people keep assigning you to things and you just say yes, 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 yes,
Mm,
and you're always busy, not necessarily by choice. Because when somebody's like busy by choice, it's like I did choose to do these things, and I'm like in the flow. I'm heavily involved with the activities for the following reason. That's good busy, right?
yes.
Hopefully you're making progress with something. So I've been doing that. I've been evolving how I do my annual reviews, but I also do um, at least like quarter reviews I do. And for the last maybe 6 months, I would say, I've been very specific at doing my weekly reviews. Where in the past, like sometimes I would go do weekly reviews for like 2 or 3 months, and then I would stop for like 3 months and then do a week and then skip another. The last 6 months is like every single weekend I do my weekly review. And I have
Very
like a
consistently.
process to do that so that when it came time to do the annual review, it was a lot easier, or uh, it was more precise. I didn't have to think too much like when exactly did that happen? It's like, well, and leveraging the tools that we have right now, it made it so much easier,
So tell me a little
right?
bit about that process. So when you sit down to this annual thing, you've been making weekly reviews, you're documenting them somewhere. So when you sit down to do this yearly review, what does that process look like? Are you grabbing a bunch of documents, placing them somewhere, doing some analysis and getting a summary? Tell me what that looks like.
I love the question, and I love that you stated like you sit down to do this. That's one of the things that I do. I go for walks.
Mm,
Right? So when I first started, the main source for those reviews, even though I had like journals, they were always like handwritten, and I would hardly ever go through them to read them,
yes.
right? I would have the process of like writing and everything, but I wouldn't necessarily use them effectively to be able to pull that information. So when I first started, what I did have relatively consistent was were my blog posts, right? So back 10 years ago, that's what I would do. I would go through my blog and then see through it because of the way I've been blogging. It's like whatever I'm blog, it's because it's fresh in my mind. It's what's going on, right? So I would go back, it's like, oh yeah, in January I blogged about this. I remember why. I know exactly what project I was working on or what kind of circumstance I had and why I blogged that. And that would allow me to see my journey through that year. And then paired with that, like whatever talks I gave around that time, because then again, I would remember the projects, the people, the places, the different challenges, and it would allow me to think through that and review my year. For the last maybe 5 or 6 years, I've also been tracking quotes that I've read throughout the year that I wrote down, and it made me just drop whatever I was doing and think about it.
Yes.
That's a very mindful thing. It's like, okay, I read that one quote and it made me think. And when I put it on my system here, I put a little note like, what has that made me think? What are the connections? Well, I'm connecting with this experience that I've had a long time ago, or that I just had, or that book that I read, or that project that I'm working on. I write down those little notes so that when it comes time for an annual review, I look at that quote now, like months later. It's like, do I still see those connections? Do I see more connections? Do I still see from the same perspective or from a higher perspective? Right. So I've been using quotes like that for years. I've been using the books that I read because the same
Yes.
thing. When I take note on the books that I'm reading, I tag them with the timestamp. Like when is it that I'm writing down those notes? Because later when I come back to it, it's like, oh, when I wrote down that note, I had no idea about that subject. That was the first time. And then time went on, I gathered more information. Now I have a whole different perspective over that. I need sometimes I need to go deeper into it, or now I have better appreciation for that, right? So that becomes part of my review. And then this year specifically, with all the voice journaling that I've been doing, and then leveraging AI transcription, now it's automatic because everything I voice journal, I'm turning that into text, and now I can just use an LLM to say these things here. So this year, what it looked like, first, I didn't start by collecting all of that. I started by taking some long walks for a few days, like for over 2 weekends, maybe for 3 days, 4 days, I would go on a long walk and let whatever comes to mind just bubble up. I'm like just putting in my mind, okay, 2025, that was the year of, that's like my prompt.
Yeah.
And then I need to finish that. That was the year of what comes to mind. And I would be walking, and then start the recorder and say, okay, this is what came to mind. There was this thing, there was this other thing, and da da da. So I did that very much free form. So that I did that like 1 or 2 days. Then the other days I did what? I looked at the life book areas of life, like health, spirituality, career, and this and that. And for each one of those, I spent like say 15 minutes, 20 minutes thinking about those and say, okay, in those areas of life, what comes to mind as far as that year is concerned? So I did that for a few days. And then I expanded that into looking at each one of the 10 values that I have for me, my two uh, terminal values, like the most important values, and then the instrumental values, the ones that support like the core of my identity. And then I journaled, voice journaled for each one of those. Like, okay, I tell myself that that is a value that I have. Why? How have I lived into that value over the last year? Got that all out. Once I got that all out, then I put it all into a single spot where an LLM could go in, and then I started like poking it with very specific questions I had about certain things that I wanted to like consolidate, bring it to the forefront, tell me where it found. Was it something that it found in my values journals, or was it something that it found in my jobs journals, or whatever other ideas that I've logged over time? And then from there, I started just saying, oh yeah, tell me more about this one part, because, and this is something I blogged about a few days ago, this was a great exercise because as I'm journaling those things, I'm starting to see some connections, right? Because
Yes.
maybe I'm journaling about this one thing here, now this other thing, and then this other thing, and I'm like, oh, I think I see connections there, and then end up like drawing those up, right? It's like, oh, there's a connection here. That's already, excellent. With leveraging the AI tools, it did find some of these connections because I had journaled about those connections. Like I'm starting to see this connection and that connection. So it brought that forward. And some other connections that I'm like, huh, I
These are
was
connections that
not.
I didn't make. Yes.
Yeah, it's like it was not clear to me, but yeah, that is totally right. Tell me more. Let's start having that conversation,
Yes.
right? And it was interesting. Like another thing that I really got out of this was as it analyzed, I at one sitting at that point, I was sitting down and I said, okay, focus on my values. Let's explore that area. And I built some prompts with AI to be able to harvest all that information. And as far as the values were concerned, what was very interesting is because it found connections, but it also found tensions.
Yes.
Like, well, if you have these two values, if you put a lot of effort into this one, there may be a tension with this other one. And then it gave me some questions like, are those real questions? Are those something you care about? Are those things you haven't even thought about them? And some of them is like, nope, not a tension, because it gave me that evaluation based on what it knows about me,
That's right.
what I've given this far. There are things that I haven't said it out loud yet to capture it, so it does not know, and it doesn't know what's here and what's here, right? It cannot work with that.
So for the things that you can share, Claudio, for
Yeah.
example, if it shows something and it says, hey, these two ideas may be in conflict, or if you try to do both, you're going to fail at one. One, you have to give some. Do you then correct because it doesn't have all this context and say, hey, here's something you're missing that may help you have a clearer and more full, complete picture of where I am with this topic?
Yeah, I do. So depending on the situation, if it is something that's like, okay, here, buddy, you got it all wrong. Let me
Yeah.
give you a little bit more, because sometimes the little bit more could be like a transcript from a talk that I gave on the topic. Or maybe I have journaled about that someplace else. I have that information someplace else. Here, let me give you a little bit more. And then it goes, ah, I see. From that perspective, this, that, or the other.
Yes.
So it was pretty interesting. And like something where it found tension is the like two values that I have is one is patience, another one is initiative.
Yeah.
They can be in conflict, right? Because like, well, very patient person, you can just sit forever waiting for things to happen. It's like, no, that's not exactly how I work, because I also have the value of initiative. So the thing is like I'm patient enough, and this is something I do. Some of it comes somewhat naturally because my mom is like that, very
Yeah.
patient, right? But so I have the patience to wait just enough to gather information. And then something that I learned from lean manufacturing, which is to wait until the last responsible moment,
Mm.
right? So it's that thing where it's like, I'm patient enough where it's like, do I need to make that decision now? No. What is the last responsible moment to make that decision? Over here? Okay, I can wait. I'm not going to be feeling anxious because no, I got this under control. I can wait. But when that time comes, then I have the initiative to let's go. We are full in. We are doing the thing. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Oh, I lost you on camera again.
So
There's something
I
happening
wish
there.
I could. As a matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll take a picture of this because this is very weird. One of my screens has
Yeah.
turned gray. The other screen has turned green. So what I'm gonna
Wow.
do,
That
and
is
I
weird.
well, it's because I have a lot of things running. I have three IDEs running. And what I should start to this is so crazy. What I should start to do, leading up to these meetings, and this moment right now has taught me a very valuable lesson. Start fresh, close everything out because this video sharing must be a really intense resource that we're using. It's
It
inside of
is.
Teams. There's video, there's audio, and it's being streamed. So
It
something
is.
something gave way and I'm here with this weird situation. But I'll take a picture and share it. But what I'll do right now,
Hmm.
while you continue to talk, is I will
Yes.
disconnect from the external monitors, replug into them, and hopefully this problem addresses itself. So give me about 30 seconds
Perfect.
or so. I
Not a
apologize.
problem. No, it's okay. And actually, I mean, it's funny that you mentioned because on my computer before we joined the call, I also had like at least two IDs and they were running different tests and different things in different Docker containers with different databases, everything happening at the same time. And I said, no, 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 I gotta shut that all down because, yeah, anytime there's like video things happening,
Yep.
those take a lot of resources from the computer.
And I also have Docker running in the background.
There you
Man.
go.
All right, I'm gonna try my video again and hopefully this is working. All
There you
right.
go. Perfect.
Man, all right.
Yeah, but that's so that was the thing. As I said, it was interesting because in many of those, it pointed out some potential tension. It said, okay, there's this thing here, there's this thing here, there can be some tension here and there. There's something for you to be aware of. So some of those, as I said, like, nope, I got those under control, not a big deal. In others, I'm like, that's actually a very good point. I do need to ponder about that a little bit more. And in some cases, I also love it because it suggested some experiments to
Ah,
make. So I love that approach because it's like, well, there's this one thing. Here's an experiment you can run, say for a quarter or a month or something like that, see what you learn, and then, gather data and revise it. Like, yep, And it did pick some of that up from my journals,
Yes.
right? Of how I don't necessarily like set goals. I set experiments to see what I'm going to learn. So I love that it picked up on that approach, which really appealed to me.
One thing that I do enjoy about your practices that we all get to benefit from is that you do not only blog and journal, but you share them in a public way. You'll take experiences that you've had, and it could be anything. For example, you're gonna probably cut a blog from this conversation,
Yep.
and there will be some things that you change. There will be some perspectives that you have internally that may not be making it into this conversation right now that will make it into the subsequent post. And we get to digest that and see from your perspective. And one thing I think that we're lacking in society, even with the advent of something like a social media, is people sharing their deep perspectives. What we usually get is a bunch of hot takes. And I don't know if that's really useful to society.
Mhm.
It's great for building engagement, but it's not great for building community.
I totally agree. I totally agree. It's the whole thing about like, beware presentations and articles and whatever from successful people that they just start off the bat with how they succeeded and
Yeah, yeah,
start like with the shortcuts. So it's like, no, tell me all of the failures, tell me all of the stumbles. What were the things that you were not expecting that happened, and how did it feel? How did you, overcome that? Because that's the thing, unless somebody gets really, really lucky,
yeah.
nobody becomes successful on the first shot. Like oh, I had this idea, let me give it a shot. It works. Like it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't. And what we'll see often, to further your point, is people cutting out all of the things that they believe aren't necessary to share, but those details are where the success actually happened. The moments where they were stuck and had the writer's block or didn't know how to move forward. Figuring out how to go from that point to the next step is the real story. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear, well,
Yeah.
got a bunch of friends together, we fundraised and success. Like, I mean, that sounds cool. It's a nice, short, well packaged story for social media for the limited attention spans that we have now. But the bigger story, the one that we have to really process, is the one that we can really glean value from.
Yeah. Yeah. And the importance of that, I totally, and I'm gonna butcher part of the story because it's like how I remember, and I don't recall which one was the book that I was reading when they brought this up. The whole story about the famous violin, the Stradivari,
Uh,
right? I think that's
I
the
think it's a Stradivarius or something to this.
Stradivarius.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're close. You
Why
said
did I think
Stradivari.
Stradivari? Yeah.
Uh, and let me type it up just to be completely sure.
Yeah, because I remember I got confused between the name of the violin and the name of
Yeah,
the person that was named. So is it Stradivarius?
that's right.
Right? So that person, like nobody has ever been able to create such a high quality violin. And he had taught his kids, like his sons, I think he had two or three sons.
Yep.
He taught them, he showed like this is how you do it, and oh, and this and that. But the kid still could not make it as high quality as he could because there were things, history says, or at least where I've read it, that he didn't pass that along because he took it for granted. It was so
Yeah.
ingrained already. Like, well, that this is just how you do it. Well, for somebody who just started doing the thing, they don't have, that at the back of their hand like that. And like how many things in life are just like that? We fail giving all the nuances for people to actually appreciate and understand the thought process to get, into something.
We see this all the time. One famous example, because I've heard the same violin example, and it's like this X factor that's missing. You can share. Well, the example that I'm going to share is the recipe. Grandmother baked an amazing pie, and she left the recipe behind. And you follow the recipe, and people who've had grandmother's recipe try yours, and there's just something missing. But I'm
Yeah.
following grandmother's recipe line for line, but the person who did get it in the way that grandmother delivered it is the person who sat in the kitchen with her, watching her make it,
Yeah.
who put their hands in and kneaded the dough in the same way that she kneaded the dough. These are things that we really can't capture in language in the way that, two sticks of butter, one egg, those things are, easier to capture than this kneading process and the technique that she used. All of these techniques, they're difficult to capture in language. So they're difficult to carry forward when you're
Yeah.
leaving these things behind.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, it's fascinating, and it does get me. We talked about this at some point. I don't remember how many episodes ago, but like the different ways that people think,
Yeah.
right? Where somebody might look at, say, at a violin, and they might say it doesn't look right, or they might say it doesn't sound right. Like, what is it? There's something that they're catching on. Because for some people, it's like, no, I can just see it and I know if it's right or not. Others might
Yeah.
say, no, I can see as many as, you show me, it's not going to resonate until you actually play it. That's
Yes.
why you have people like they do the whole blindfold and, trying to figure out like a really expensive acoustic guitar from, a cheap one,
Yep.
and the person just listens like, yeah, that's like a 15 buck from the Walmart, and this is
Hmm.
like a 15 grand, because that one just doesn't sound right.
Yes. But how do you really capture that with language? Because that one doesn't sound right, doesn't really hit the mark.
Yeah, but you know what? They're one of my top favorite books, Badass Making Users Awesome. It turned my
Mhm.
attention to this thing called perceptual exposure. And then the example that it gave me there, I don't remember which country that is, when they have like they need to train a person who separates chicks, male and female. And a chick, it's like nearly impossible for you and I to figure out, is it male or female? You don't know.
Yes.
So what they have is the trainee, like there's like a conveyor belt with a whole bunch of chicks coming. The person will pick one up and either put it on the right for male, on the left for female, and then an an expert will be standing there and going, yes, no,
Mhm.
yes, yes, no. He doesn't say why. He just says yes or no. It's like, did you get it right or not?
Yes.
And the person is just like seeing it, yes, no. And after doing that thousands of times, millions of times, I have no idea, people will just know. That's
Yeah.
the perception exposure. You've seen it so many times and you cannot really tell exactly what do you see there that makes it one or the other. What do you Well, that one does not look right. Explain that to me. I can't. Yeah.
I like the idea of the person standing over the shoulder and yes, no, yes, no, while you're doing this process, because at first I would imagine it does start out you as the person separating the chicks, a very random process. And you have some ideas in your mind of what might separate this chick from that chick in terms of their genders or sexes. But
Right.
over time, as this person continues to say yes, no, there must be something that you pick up along the way that gives you clues.
Yeah.
And I would love to read more about that because that is
Yeah.
interesting. I wish we could
Yeah.
simulate that kind of experiment, but I don't know where we're gonna get a bunch of chicks from.
So here's right. So on the book they mentioned that one case, and another one is like somebody who could spot uh enemy or friendly like flights in a war territory. They could just like
Ah,
spot from the ground and could tell one from another. I don't remember the specifics, but I've been thinking about that since I've read the book the first time, like the perceptual exposure, like the things that I just know because like I I I just know because I've
yeah.
either seen that so many times, it doesn't feel right or it doesn't look right if we do it any other way. So here's one situation where I've been thinking about that.
Here we go again.
Going back, oh, you just lost. What's happening? The cameraman is just giving up on you, man.
Oh man.
um,
But do
but
continue. Go ahead.
no problem. Like we were talking about how I, on my breaks, when we're at the improving office, I tend to go to the pool table, hit a few shots to just like practice a little bit of mindfulness as I'm doing that. And I know that like playing pool, there are techniques like the geometry of the thing that you will know, right? Well, from this angle, if you hit it like this at this speed and you put a spin here and that, there is a way to explain that. I know
Yes.
that is a thing. People who see things through those lenses, they are able to tell you, oh yeah, you bank it here, it's gonna go there. From that angle, it's gonna open, it's gonna close, blah, blah, blah. It's like I don't know any of that, and I'm not interested in that.
Yes.
What I am interested in doing is trying to hit the same shot over and over and over again. It's like minor variations. So this time I'm gonna hit dead center. Now I'm gonna hit a little bit up, down, right, left. What does it do? So I keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And then eventually I'm like, I don't know how to explain, but I think I can take that shot and I can make that shot. Oh, is that even possible? See it. Just look. Because it's like I've done that so many times, and I think that's the perceptual exposure. It's like I cannot explain that to you exactly how it works. I just know what to do in the situation.
Yes.
Tough.
Man.
Yeah, there you go. Now we got a different camera.
Oh man.
Uh,
If it's not one thing, it's another. But I mean,
all
let's
good.
just
That
let me.
works.
I will. I'll move things down here, and this will
There you
have to
go.
do. All right.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So that is interesting. And it's funny because even like you see like me playing pool, I'm always like trying to suggest to whoever I'm playing with, like, oh, try this, try that, try this other thing. And then I caught myself thinking, like, I cannot explain exactly to the person what's gonna happen, but I just say, try it like this and you see what I mean. And
Yes.
then they make the shot. Ah, like that, whatever that
Yeah.
was. So I think about the chicks, like, yes, no, yes, no. If you hit it like that, it's not gonna work. Yes, that's gonna work.
But if you do enough of that, and that's a great analog. You standing over the pool table and directing shots. And maybe you don't even tell them how to line it up. You, once they get the angle right, for example, you say, yes, now do it. And then, nope,
Yeah,
nope, not yet. And then you finally, once they line it up correctly, now do it. And enough
yeah,
of this, they will build an intuition about how to hold the pool stick, how to angle it. Like,
yeah,
I think a lot of these things are somewhat natural because we're talking about hitting something and there is a trajectory laid out, determined by the angle and the path that you hit it at. And it may not necessarily be intuitive up front, but with enough practice, you can build this library of information.
yeah. That's yep. And that library of information, that is the thing that, like, for us visual thinkers, it's like
Yeah.
a library of images. You've seen
Yeah.
so many images, and you can pull from that.
Hmm.
But then the folks who think linearly,
Yeah.
how do they solve those things? That's like that is something I don't understand.
Well, for those people, it may
Yeah.
be a little bit different. Maybe it's muscle memory. Because you like
Mm,
there are people, and I'm a very visual thinker, where you'll have some people who can just visually overlay, and it's not like as clear as day as you putting a red line on the table, pointing and showing how if you hit that corner, it'll bounce off that corner and back. But if you look at it and you are a visual person, you can start to kind of see it in that way,
right.
where you do see, okay, it's that way, it's going to hit that corner and it's going to just miss the pocket, hit the other corner, and come back around in a rectangle shape, for example. But yeah, for the people who do not think in that way, I think they just have to do a lot of practice.
Yeah. Huh.
I mean,
And
practice is a constant across both, but one person versus the other has another thing in their toolkit that the other person does not have. The visual person may begin to see, okay, um, I can start to see this line overlaid on top of the pool table, even if it's just me imagining it, but the person
right.
who doesn't think in that way will struggle to do that part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting, man. So yeah, we've gone from like annual reviews to this thing. How do we go back? How did we get here?
Um, how do we get back? One of the things
Yeah.
that we did mention, busyness, and one of the notes that I do have here because I made some notes, resistance disguised as busyness, and this can mean staying active without moving forward. Productivity is a socially acceptable hiding place, and I am really guilty of this. I will get into something. One common example is like playing video games, where you make tons and tons of progress within the world of that game, but outside of it, it doesn't really mean a whole lot.
Hmm.
But you feel like you've accomplished a lot. You feel like you have made some sort of progress forward, but it's only within that world. Once you eject from that world, that progress does not carry forward.
Ooh, yes. So there are, yeah, I love that. And the two things that pop in my mind that I've been thinking about. One is as I was reviewing some of the quotes from last year, I got this one from Mark Manson. He said something like, uh, "Learning more might be the smart person's way to procrastinate." Right?
Yeah,
Like, oh, I'll just keep learning, keep learning, keep learning, right? And maybe that's just a way to be busy
yeah.
procrastinating because you're not actually taking what you already know and acting on it.
And
Like,
doing the thing. One
yeah,
example that immediately comes to mind is a conversation that we've had before, and this is about encouraging people to start their journey, their blogging journey,
yeah,
and especially if they're software developers. So what you'll see this procrastination show up as is, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this React app, I'm going to get this framework, and I'm going to build the blogging platform. And then you check in on them to say, hey, how's the blogging coming along? Well, man, I've got this feature, I've got that feature, and I'm able to add images. So once this is all up and running, then I'm going to start it's like the actual work that you came to do is the last mile because you're delaying it with all of the other things that you feel really comfortable about doing. In our case, as software developers, building. But when it comes to
yeah,
the most vulnerable part, the actual, I have to share what's inside of here. You're putting that off until the very last piece or the
yeah,
very last mile. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I have been thinking, pondering that pretty much daily, where, and that was part of something I blogged, I guess, maybe yesterday, where, yeah, the tools are getting so much better and faster. We can do a lot done in a short period of time,
Yeah.
right? What's not getting better is, our ability, humans' ability to actually go from idea
Yes.
to solution, like shortening that. Once we know what we need to build, then we have the tools to make it real quick. But to understand, identify what the actual problem is that we're trying to solve, that we're not getting any faster because we still don't quite know how to ask the best next question.
I agree. But there's something else at play when we are in this scenario, because many times, probably more often than not, we will begin to build before we do have a complete picture of the why. We will begin to lay the foundation, even though we don't know exactly, we don't have a clear path forward in terms of where we're going. So it's like, for example, you want to build an app. that does a thing. It's like, okay, I can get this framework off the shelf and lay that down. I know where to go and get my database. I know what tech stack I'm going to use. I know where I'm going to host it. But the thing that you're actually trying to build hasn't fully crystallized. So you're building in a direction that is not all that clear just yet. Whereas if you say, hey, I'm not even going to touch any code, I'm not going to build a single line of anything, I'm not going to set up any service until this piece of it is clear, then you arrive at something a little more difficult to confront. I need to understand the why. And if I don't have that, then I can't move forward with anything else. So if I don't have the why, I will not, and this is me thinking through this in real time.
I
If
love
I
it.
don't, if I don't have the why, I will not proceed forward with anything else. That alone may feel like a paralyzing position to be in, because it's like you have the skill set to build, and you have the desire to do the same thing, and you don't want to slow down just because you don't have the idea yet. But building without that idea means that you feel like you're progressing towards the thing, but that's just not entirely true. You'll sink weeks into, all of the scaffolding and getting everything set up. But once there is a point that you will arrive at where it's like, okay, now I have to do the thing that I actually came to do, but it's not clear yet. So if you would have focused on that up front and said, I'm not going to touch anything else, then you would have had to pour all of your resources into that.
I hear you. And what I would offer, and like, yes, going through that thought process, yes, it can be like the identifying that why, have that crystal clear vision of the why. We may not know. I mean, for the most part, we don't know that. We do not have that vision. So what we need to start building is whatever we need to answer the next question, or to figure out what the next question is to ask. Like, start there. What is the next question we need to ask that's going to get us one step closer to finding what that vision is? And
Yeah.
there is a visual that I shared with people in the past where I show like this very foggy image, and all the way over there, you see there's like this circle looking thing. It's like,
Yes.
there, that's where I need to get. You cannot actually tell what the thing is. So it's like, well, that is the general direction. I don't need to build whatever the thing is over there because I don't know what that is yet. I have a
But you're building
very
something that
vague.
will get you there.
So the building would be like, okay, what do you need to do? Well, I need to take that first step. What is that first step? Well, it may be like literally physically taking a step forward.
Yes.
Well, what if you have a river? That first step is going to be, well, no, I'm going to need to build something that's going to allow me to move a few feet ahead, whether it's a little bridge or whatever that is. Like, what is the next thing that I need to build to get a little bit closer to that image? The problem is that a lot of us end up building the scaffolding of a lot of stuff, assuming of what's over there. And then you get over there, it's like, oh, that's what that was. We didn't need to build the Titanic. We could have just inflated an air mattress and
Yeah.
made our way over there.
Yeah.
Or we could have just learned how to swim. It's not even that deep. That's what a lot of us end up overlooking because you're trying to look way over there without asking, what is the next question? What is the next thing we're trying to learn to be more confident taking those steps?
So it seems to me what you're describing is, instead of this instinct to build, especially for people who have the skills to build, there is this exploration step.
Yep.
And this could mean feeling around. This could mean stepping into the water to see how deep it is.
Yeah.
And the further you go out into the water, you may go back and say, "Hey, I need a stick because this stick is really tall and it'll really help me understand
Yeah.
deep the water is. Then you look around because again, you don't want to just throw all of your resources at it just because you can, just because you have the skills to. Maybe you say, hey, there is an abandoned tire there. This tire can float, and it has a hole in it, and it can support my body weight given the water. And maybe we float out to see how closer we can get to the thing. And the closer we get to the thing, the more it starts to come into vision. And
Yeah.
from that point of view, we have more information to work with once we get back to shore, where we can say, hey, given what we saw, even though we are only able to get 40 feet out, if I build something like this, now we know we have a more clear picture of just what to build instead of just building the Titanic right away. We know, okay, if I want to get 50 more feet out, I need to build something a little more stable. There are lots of wind gusts, maybe some animals. So I need something that half of my body isn't exposed in. I need something that can fully contain my body. And it doesn't have to take me all the way there, but just enough to get me closer so I can know what the next step is. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. You want an example that's less abstract and more closer to what we do as consultants, software developers?
Sure.
So a couple of months ago, right, I was in a UAT session,
Yeah.
and one problem that was brought up by some of the testers got me thinking, right, about possible solutions. So first of all, I didn't go like, oh, let me start building things, because what happened was the problem, the way that it was stated, the immediate thing, the builder in us could be like, oh, you just need to build a feature for this and a feature for that and a feature for that and a feature for that. It's like, we cannot afford that. That's like, it's not going to happen. We
Hmm.
do not have the resources to build all of those features. So I'm thinking like, okay, I'm not building anything right now. I'm making an effort to understand what is the need, right? What is that is preventing the person to fulfilling that need, right? Once I understand like, yeah, that is a problem. I understand that because I'm picturing like a person, the end user, their situation, their circumstance, their environment. I'm like, oh, I can feel that in my bones, how if we present the system to them like this and they have this situation in their life happening, this is a problem for them. It's not going to
Hmm.
fulfill that need that they have. Like, okay, I understood that. So I voiced out like, this is the problem. This is a possible solution for it. It would involve going to like a search bar within the application and making it AI enabled. Like make it as a smart, not necessarily AI enabled, like a smarter version of the search, where
Yes.
currently or before that, the search bar would only search for the items in the menu or the features that the current user has access to,
Hmm.
right? It's a very limited in scope. But people love that, but they would always ask, oh, can I also like say search for orders from customer X or show me what I'm low in inventory? Like those are some like very specific questions that they ask, and they explain why they need that answer, relatively quick. I dropped that information into my AI tool. In this case was Cursor, right? I
Hmm.
explained, okay, this is the feature as we currently have. This is the kind of problem or need that people using the system have voiced. Let me give you a little bit more about where we would find that information in the system. Because it's an event sourced system, I said, okay, that information that people are asking, we have domain events that are saved in the event streams. So we can leverage Martin's projection to populate read models with the answers that are close, or with the data that gets the user closer to the answer that they have. No idea. Like I have not myself implemented any kind of like AI-enabled feature, right?
Yeah.
Where you train a model, you do this, you do this. Like I haven't done any of that myself. So like I wouldn't know where to start. So I just very specifically describe all of these things, and I gave that to Cursor. I said, create me a plan, right? And what I had heard about before is that in Azure, there is this Azure AI search. I think it used to be called cognitive search and it became AI's application search or something like that. I thought, oh, I think that's the thing. And I had like an overall idea. Okay, you build this index with the information, and then you give it into the service that will know how to do the semantic search and stuff like this. Like I
Hmm.
had a very basic idea, and that's what I thought that the AI would do. And if I didn't have the tool, that's how I would build it. It's like, oh, I'm going to look
Yes.
at that service, I'm going to start building that. I didn't do any of that. I just said, this is what I know, this is what I have, this is the need that we have. And I let it roll with it. Like, huh. When the solution came up and I tried it out, like, yeah, that fulfilled the need. Let me look at the implementations. Like, that is not at all what I had thought, but it actually works. So
Yes.
what it did mention the possibility of using AI search and this and that and the other, but it said for what you are trying to achieve, you don't need that. You need to use natural language to take, or an LLM to take that natural language, translate that into Martin queries, right? So it created some C# methods that mapped based on that kind of natural language, because it's like,
Yes.
this is the kind of questions that people are going to be asking. They're not going to be asking, oh, how do I make soup out of an iPhone and a near, but it's like, no, they have very specific questions.
Yes.
Are we low on bananas? Do we have to order whatever? Very specific questions. And then with that solution, I'm like, okay, let's roll with that. That implementation, I kid you not, it took like once I saw like, oh yeah, I can totally work with that. I kept like refining the
Yeah.
prompts and the feature to something that I could put in front of stakeholders. And overall, it took about like altogether 5 hours to get something that I put it in front of the stakeholders and they were like speechless that that happened, right? Like, okay, I validated the concept. I saw how deep the water was. Then I went back into Cursor and said, okay, now instead of using, for that one, I was using um, LM Studio.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. LM Studio, because I said, yeah, I don't want to like put that anywhere else yet. I have a local model, just use that as a proof of concept. Got it working. I said, okay, that's working. How do I move that over to Azure now? I know nothing. Assume I know nothing. It walked me through the whole thing. It set everything up for me. When I pushed it, it was way faster than running against my local model. When I gave that to stakeholders, they're like mind blown, right? But the benefit there, as I said, was that I didn't spend any time trying to learn and build all of these other things before I built the little canoe to put in front of people and say, is that what you mean? Right? So that's where the mind goes with all of that.
Yes. Did the stakeholders care about your implementation?
Not at all.
Did they ask?
Not a
Did they
bit.
ask to see the code?
Not a bit. Not no.
There was a gap between how you imagined the implementation would look and the actual implementation that you got, even at the early stage, at the toy level. Did that bother you?
Not at all. Not not a bit. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned, because I enjoyed that, because the way my mind was going is like, okay, it's gonna do the AI search thing and this and that and the
Mm-hmm.
other. I know it can leverage, we can use Martin's projection to create a read model that produces the index to send over to Azure, and then it does things with it. That's where my mind was,
Yeah.
right? The thought process. When it came back with this other implementation, I'm like, huh, yeah, that solves the problem that we have at hand. That is totally fine. Because, and here's the thing that's fascinating. It was driven by the very specific, very focused problem that I explained. These are questions. Here are some examples of the questions that these people are asking. This is what mattered to them. It's like half a dozen or up to a dozen questions. It's like, when that happens, I need that answer as quickly as we need without having to
Yes.
like click here, search for this, click this other thing, click this other thing. Like, no, we have the data. We can just like, it's like a select star with a very fun, funky inner join and this and that. It's like, no, you don't need to do that. If you know that's the kind of question they ask, you can create read models tailored to that, right? And then I saw the solution. Like, yeah, I actually enjoyed that it didn't follow what I was thinking,
It couldn't
right?
follow what you were thinking because you didn't poison the context. You didn't say, "Hey,
Yes.
I have a general idea of how you could do this, and here's some of my thoughts about it." Because if you had done it, it would have implemented in the way that you wanted it to, or the way you imagined
Yes.
it would implement it. But giving it the free reign to ideate
Yes.
allows it to come up with a different solution that you didn't have in mind.
Well, and that's the thing, right? And this is something that I've been practicing with all these tools where I tell it I know, and what I think that's how much I know, but I don't tell it, do it like that.
Mm,
I tell it like, this is what I know, come up with a plan and explain it to me, because that way I learn. It's
yes.
like, don't go blindly by what I'm telling you that I know. I'm not telling you that you should do it that way. I'm telling you, like, this is what I know. If you do something that goes way beyond my current knowledge, I will not be able to understand and maintain that.
Yes.
I'm only telling you what I know. So that's like, yeah, poor little me. I haven't done all this ML stuff. I don't understand, a fraction of that. Help me out. And that is so beneficial. A few weeks ago, I think I actually blogged about that. If not, I should, where there was one thing that I wanted to automate here around my one of my journaling tools, I think. And at first, I did tell, I think it was on Windsurf, well, I'm thinking of like doing it this way or that way. Again, I didn't tell it like, do it like this. I said, well, this is the problem, and I'm thinking maybe we can do it this way, which would involve using cursor CLI
Yeah.
right from the command line and all. And then Windsurf itself said, no, you don't need that. For what you're telling me that you need, here's a Python script that gives you that.
Yeah.
Once you want to do this other thing, then let's talk again and revisit the using an LLM from the command line. But until then, you don't even need that. I'm like, you're talking me out of using an LLM? That is fantastic.
In favor of the Python script. This
Yeah.
does bring to mind, and I know we're coming to a close. This brings to
Sure.
mind a few months ago, well, some point last year, you were using Final Cut Pro X to edit videos, and you wanted to automate this entire process. And I believe you ultimately landed on some Python script that lays out the timeline and could um, give you placeholders where the audio would drop in. Um,
Yes.
what I would ask you to do now that we're in the future where we have models that are a little bit more powerful, give it that project again and
Yeah.
see what it does.
Yes, I do have plans to revisiting that because that was another experiment that I've run for maybe 6 months or something like that,
Yeah.
right? I paused that series of videos that I was cutting using that automation, and it's one of the things that I need to continue this year because I want to finish that series, which is a series on it's my Read Better series,
Yes.
a whole bunch of blog posts slash videos talking about different techniques to become a better reader. And because, yeah, I remember from that thing, it was just like around that time when I was using mostly ChatGPT to create
Yep.
some of the automation. And then it suggested creating a Python script, right? And I was giving it like screenshots of what the project in Final Cut Pro looked like. And I said, help me automate, create something like that.
Yes.
Eventually it told me, oh, I'll help you with that. And once we got the right thing going, I'll write you a Python script, which I was not even thinking about it. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna tell you and just do the thing. Was not even thinking about automating that with a script. Once it gave me that, the first few iterations were not working quite right,
Yep.
but that was the time when I had just adopted Cursor. So I migrated that over to Cursor. But then again, for a while, I kept like giving it screenshots and let it figure out until I thought, no, 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 stop that. That is generating an XML file. Give it the desired XML output, the structure, define that structure, and then let it run with it.
Yes.
Once I did that, it was already so much better, right? And that's where, like, at that point, it was already giving me what I needed at that point. But as I revisit that, probably in a couple of months, then yeah, I'll take your suggestion there, like just start over because I know the requirements, so to say, the previous experience. Say, okay, let me give it another go at this.
Yes. And you know how to approach it because of your past experiences. So, and that might look like giving it an XML of a project that you manually put together in Final Cut Pro and
Yeah,
allowing it to work backwards from there. See this
yeah,
thing, and I know it's in a working state. How would you recreate this? And it will
yep,
spit out some XML, of course. You try it out and see what it looks like.
yep, yep. So it's fascinating, man. Fascinating. Very nice. Very nice.
But I look forward to this year of doing more cool things, building in public. One of
Yeah.
my, as we wrap up, one of
Hmm.
the things that I began to do last year is blog. And I have somewhat fallen off the horse, and you reached out to me on one of these days. Maybe it was a weekend or at some point over the break. And you shared a message that I will not share here, but it spoke directly to me and some of the insecurities that I have. And I would like to thank you in a public way, even though this is a very small audience, for thinking of
Absolutely.
me in that way and reaching out to say, hey, it doesn't matter how difficult it may get, keep going because ultimately, and I hear this all the time, the key to being successful in this kind of space is consistency.
Yep.
So whether one person reads it, whether 10 people read it, be consistent because
Yep.
ultimately this practice isn't about other people reading it and it shouldn't be that way and it isn't that way for me. It is
Hmm.
about the consistency, building the skill, which is why I love the reading series because the better writer I become is strongly tied to how much I'm reading.
100%. 100%. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But that's all I got. I'll leave it to you for the last word.
Sounds good, man. Well, no, that this was great. I thank you for starting with like, yeah, let's start looking back. No New Year's resolution on any of that stuff. That's
Yeah, yeah.
the first thing that gets dropped after first week of the year, right?
Yeah, we had a meeting on this past Tuesday, and they say that January 9th is National Quitters Day. This is the day that people, finally stop going to the gym after 8 days of trying it and realizing how difficult it is, and realizing that in order to get success, you have to be consistent. But it's difficult, it hurts, and you have to do this thing. And there are all of these other things that you've grown used to doing that are getting in the way of what you claim is your goal. So people leave
Yeah.
and drop out by the 9th of January, National Quitters Day.
Yeah, exactly. And something that I've been practicing over the years is like I don't wait for a specific day to start anything. It's like, nope, I'm starting right now. Oh, but
Hmm.
it's the mid of the week, the mid of the month, the blah, blah, blah.
So what?
Like, I don't care. I'm starting right now. So yeah, just start with what you have, where you are, with what you know. Just do the thing, see what you learned, and then keep moving. That's the thing. Just keep moving. And yeah, consistency over intensity. That's another quote I recorded from last year, because I know I'm a very intense person. Like when I put my mind down to doing something, I'm
Yes.
like, I'm
Full
all
throttle.
in. Yeah, and that is good, but consistency is more important than that, right? So if you consistently do that, so that's where my mind is. Like I consistently like take my time being patient, create the initiative. Once I'm there, I'm all in. Then I come back out, I reflect and start over. So this whole thing is my consistency, right? So with that, hopefully that sets the mood for the year.
Yes, sir. And until next time,
Absolutely. Later.
Reflective Practice Radio. Get into it.
Awesome.
Later.
Later.